Biblical date 1914. Says the teaching of the witnesses on this subject. In Luke 21:24 we find these words, Jerusalem will be trampled, or trampled on by nations until the appointed time of nations is fulfilled, or the times of the Gentiles, according to Reina Valera 1865. Jerusalem was the capital of the Jewish nation. From there ruled a line of house kings real David. Psalms 48. 1, 2. These kings were different from the kings of the other nations because they sat on the throne of Jehovah, that is, they were representatives of God. 1 Chron 29:23. How and when did the nations begin to trample God's government? This occurred in the year 607 A. and C. When the Babylonians took Jerusalem. Jehovah's throne remained emptiness and the line of kings descending from David was interrupted. Jesus indicated that the Gentiles would rule for a designated period. Daniel 4 is the key to know its duration. There is related a prophetic dream that Nebuchadnezzar had. In the dream he saw as they cut down a huge tree, only its base was left, which was tied with iron and copper so that it did not grow. Then an angel ordered, spend 7 times on it. Daniel 4:10-16. Revelation 12:6124 indicate that 3.5 times are 1260 days, therefore 7 times are 2520 days. The nations did not stop trampling on the government of God, but after those 2520 days after the fall of Jerusalem, the beginning period of 2520 days began in 607 BC. And c. And it lasted until October 1914, taken from the book, What Does the Bible Really Teach? Appendix P. 215,216. Spanish version. Breaking Down Lies. Analysis of Luke 21:24. And they will fall by the edge of the sword, and will be led captive into all nations, and Jerusalem it will be trampled on by the Gentiles, until the times of the Gentiles are fulfilled. The context says that Jesus taught about the temple in Jerusalem, that there would be no stone upon stone and that everything would be destroyed, as the disciples asked him about when that would be and what sign would there be of his coming, and that is when Jesus answers these two questions in one and presents them. A series of events prior to the destruction of Jerusalem and prior to his coming. Among these events it is indicated that Jerusalem would be trampled or trampled on by Gentiles. In reviewing history, and what Jesus was referring to at that time is that Jerusalem was actually trampled on in the year 70 D.C. And he was not referring to something previous, or that was already happening. Jesus is presenting future events about the destruction of Jerusalem, which was what the disciples asked, and showed them that this time was future, not something that was happening. Jesus said will be trodden, future tense. He did not say she will continue to be trampled, as of something that had been happening. B. Analysis 1 Chronicles 29:23, Throne of Jehovah. Was Jehovah's throne literally in Jerusalem? Were human kings, many disobedient, representatives of Jehovah? We must understand that the expression is not referring to the throne in a literal way, and that sinful humans would sit on it, but with reference to Jerusalem as the place where the divine presence was manifested. The expression refers to Jerusalem as the place where Jehovah's throne was because there was the sanctuary, and it was in the sanctuary where the divine presence was manifested. Great is Jehovah, and worthy to be greatly praised in the city of our God, on his holy mountain. Beautiful province, the joy of all the earth, it is Mount Zion, on the northern sides, the city a great king. Psalms 48. 1, 2. At that time they will call Jerusalem the throne of Jehovah, and all the nations will come to her in the name of Jehovah in Jerusalem, nor will they walk after the hardness of his wicked heart. Jeremiah 3:17. In other words, he began to reign in Jerusalem, but not literally on the throne of God because his throne is in heaven. Isaiah 6:1. In the year King Uzziah died, I saw the Lord sitting on a high throne and sublime, and his skirts filled the temple. Isaiah 66:1. Jehovah said thus, Heaven is my throne, and earth is my footstool. Where is the house that you will build for me, and where is my resting place? Revelation 4:2-3. And immediately I was in the Spirit, and behold, an established throne in heaven, and on the throne, one seated. And the look of the one he was sitting on was similar to jasper and carnelian stone, and there was around the throne a rainbow, similar in look to emerald. What sense would it make for God to allow his throne to be trampled on by humans? We must understand that then it does not refer to the throne in a literal way of God but to Jerusalem, the place where his sanctuary was, since that was where the divine presence was manifested. See Daniel 4 Vision and fulfillment. In this chapter the king of Babylon Nebuchadnezzar has a dream that asks the magicians, astrologers, Chaldeans and fortune tellers to tell him the interpretation of this, but they could not, until Daniel entered before him. The king told him the dream and he showed him the interpretation divine and its meaning. In the dream there was a great tree that grew and reached up to the sky and could be seen from all the ends of the earth and provided shade for the beasts of the field, fruit for all, pasada to the birds of the sky. Until I see in the dream that a watchman and some gave the order to knock down the tree and the birds of the field to leave its branches, it will stop giving fruits, but the stock of its roots should be left with ties of iron and bronze, and its human heart is changed and it is given the heart of a beast, and they pass over the 7 times. Then Daniel gives the interpretation to the king and explains that that tree is the one, and the biblical story shows that it was actually fulfilled in the said prophecy and lasted 7 times, living among the beasts, and when time was fulfilled he was restored to his place as king. All this due to the pride and arrogance of King Nebuchadnezzar, and then he recognized the greatness of Jehovah. Witness errors in interpretation. The vision is not indicating anywhere that it is referring to the throne of God. In that case they are wrong, because in the introductory part they recognize that the throne of Jehovah is in Jerusalem, but not Babylon, and this prophecy is about the king of the throne of Babylon. In that case they are without grounds to relate it to the throne of God. B. The vision is not about the time when Jerusalem would be trampled. It is about what happened to King Nebuchadnezzar. Nowhere does chapter 4 refer to a time when the Gentiles trampled Jerusalem. C. The vision is on Nebuchadnezzar, not on the throne of God. Verse 22. You yourself are, O king, who grew and became strong, for your greatness has increased and has reached to heaven, and your dominion to the ends of the earth. D. The vision has a fulfillment within Daniel 4 itself and does not indicate that it is a prophecy for a future of humanity or on the throne of God. Verse 33.34. At the same time the word about Nebuchadnezzar was fulfilled, and he was cast out from among men, and he ate grass like oxen, and his body was drenched with dew from heaven, until his hair grew like eagle feathers, and his nails like those of birds. But at the end of time I, Nebuchadnezzar, raised my eyes to heaven, and my reason was back. And I blessed the Most High, and I praised and glorified him who lives forever, whose dominion is everlasting, and his reign for all ages. The prophecy is because of Nebuchadnezzar's arrogance and pride. Verse 29, 30, 31. After 12 months, walking in the royal palace of Babylon, the king spoke and said, Is not this the great Babylon that I built for a royal house with the strength of my power, and for the glory of my majesty? The word was still in the king's mouth, when a voice came from heaven. It is said to you, King Nebuchadnezzar, the kingdom has been taken away from you, is not a prophecy either about Jerusalem or about the throne of Jehovah.